Alright guys, so I've had this tent, I don't know, a couple weeks now. Now, I guess about a week at this point. Now, I don't really give full-on reviews this early for anything, but there are some things right off the bat that I've had pointed out that I've seen in other people's reviews or videos or problems or whatever. So I have a long history of camping, of basically any type that you can imagine. I definitely lean on the side of buy once, cry once for most situations. I've had high-end $500 backpacking tents down to Ozark Trail, bottom of the line you can get. And I've had a lot of various experience with various different types of products and qualities from different companies. So with that being said, I just kind of wanted to point out a few things with this tent and someone looking to buy it, right? Currently I do have it set up because we're supposed to be getting a lot of storms over the next week, so I wanted to really give it a good test as far as weather resistance goes. Now last week I did have it out for a couple hours in a pretty decent rain, and no water got in, so that's good, but I just wanted to test it further, okay? So with this being said, this is the Gazelle hub tent. It is the T3, 3 meaning 3-person tent. So we'll start getting into it. First off, quality. Let's just say like Nemo, Mountain Hardware, companies similar to those, I would rate at a 5-star quality. And Ozark Trail I would probably rate at the lowest, meaning I guess 1 star. I would rate this tent probably a 3.5 star as far as quality goes, which doesn't sound all that good, but you have to remember you're paying $200 to $300 for this tent. It is a large tent, so for what you're paying, you're getting a lot of value for what you're paying for this size of a tent. So I'll show you what I mean by quality, right? Couple different things, but you'll see, like down here, like right here, there's a little pinprick hole, and you'll see those kind of periodically throughout the fabric, and I'll see if I can find more as I'm going. You can see just kind of sloppy stitching, you know, loose ends, they're not melted. The seams aren't always straight. You can see there, I can... oh, yep, right here you can see more loose ends. You can just see how ugly that's sewn right here, right? So I can keep going on and on and on, and basically every seam I can point out something similar to that. Like right here, the edges don't line up. This is sewn off center. Now, I've not found anything structurally that seems like it'll be a problem. But the way that the seams are sewn and finished up really aren't amazing, but I have seen much worse as well. So as far as build quality, I would say 3.5 stars for that. Fabric, you know, I mean, it feels decent. I mean, it's definitely heavier material than a backpacking tent is, but I mean, it's definitely not like a cotton canvas either, you know. I mean, it's still relatively thin. It has like the coating on the inside, and it's not like sil nylon or anything like that. But I mean, you know, it seems I don't have a fear of this material dripping, for what it's worth. The tie downs for the tarp, they're held in 2 different ways. They have a pole that clicks into the main tent right here, and that just stays attached to the tarp. And then you have this, which holds this from flapping up and down. You have a grommet here. I really wouldn't put any tension on that. I'm sure that grommet would probably rip right out. You got a plastic hook, and then you have elastic. Now, I just clip it here on this pull-out. I could break that easily if I wanted. You know, I mean, here's like 1 finger, I guess 2. Minimal effort. I don't know how long these will hold up. If they rip off, you could pretty easily reinforce stuff and probably do it a much better yourself. But there is that. You do have nice tie-out points on each corner and the halfway point between the corners all the way around. They do supply guy out strings. They're just your typical real cheap tensioner, plastic tensioners or whatever. And I just run them up here. You do not have to use this. This is not for to hold up the structure of the tent. It just keeps the wind hopefully from pushing in the hub in the middle. I'm not going into the specs of this tent. There's 1,000 other reviews, or you can just go check the website. I'm just going over stuff that people really don't cover. Now, I'm not trying to bash anyone, but it seems like a lot of people, like, this tent has really good reviews. I think it's like 4.5 stars overall, according to like Amazon and stuff. But it just seems like most people don't fully know what like really good quality is, which is fine. So I just wanted to shed some light on that for people really looking for stuff like that. Here's another quality issue. So here are what the stakes are supposed to look like that they come with. And if you get them in the ground, they seem to hold pretty well. This is what happens when you try and get them in the ground in Missouri. Really cheap metal. I mean, I could just about bend that with 2 fingers. Probably aluminum, but they do come with plenty of stakes, so I mean that's cool, but they're sucky stakes. Another thing you can see on cheaper tents are the tie points here to like tie the doors to. These are real cheap. All it is literally just sewing fabric here. I'll go over, so I guess I'll go ahead and talk about it. I saw a video talking about how these are too short and they're hard to tie into a knot. That's correct, they are. But I can show you a really easy way around that here in just a minute. That you don't actually need to tie those to make the door be held in place. You do have a zipper flap right here, and then it transfers, goes from being on top of the zipper to underneath the zipper here, all the way down. So I mean, you do potentially have, I do wish that these somehow overlapped better. I mean, they just kind of both meet right at the end there. So potentially you could get some rain coming down here and drip in there. I have not yet, but I mean, if you get rain blown in there, you could probably expect some water to get in. They do have really nice zippers, really nice. I would give these a 5-star quality zippers. They are YKK. They come with nice zipper pulls. How you do these tents is I just guide my finger right here, right? And then I go underneath the top one, do the same thing all the way up. You do have kind of a D-shaped door. Okay, we're gonna step in. Ooh, about fell over. Okay, so I guess I'll talk more on those zipper or the door ties here for a sec. Sorry, let me set you up so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so as you guys can see right here, we have, get my finger in there. We have our ties, right? So what you do, those are just for this. You roll up your window or bug net and you take each tie. Now, I would not tie like a bow knot with these because they're too short. Now, what you do is act as if you're tying an overhand knot, just like that, but instead of cinching it down, just do it 2 or 3 times like that and then pull it down, and that'll hold it perfectly fine. It's easy to get undone. The knots aren't going to bind up or anything, and that holds it just fine. There's plenty of length of fabric there to do that. I've done that to both, and it has been holding perfectly fine. Another talking point I've heard people talk about are the windows. So as you can see, again, they all have really nice zippers. There's 2 windows on each side all the way around. People are like, well, they just dangle. There's nowhere to put them. You can't tie them up or anything. Yeah, that's correct. Although, watch this. So you can see the zipper does not go all the way down the length of the window. So what you can do, boom, one-handed operation, completely out of the way. If I want to pull up the window, all it is that. Super simple. I've not seen anyone do that in the comments. I'm not saying I invented it or whatever, but I have heard people say that that's annoying, that they just dangle. That would be annoying. But realistically, this is easier one-handed than messing with tying stuff and toggles and stuff anyway. That's a great solution. So, on to the next thing. I guess I'll step out real quick. Show you guys. So this is the Rainfly itself, obviously. It's more or less, it's kind of like a hat. It's kind of just sits on top of the tent. It does not go all the way down. So basically, anything that is covered, so the Rainfly itself does have seam tape on it, as you can see. So that's good. The anything that's covered by the Rainfly, meaning the tent body that's covered by the Rainfly, will not be seam taped, right? So stepping in here, you can see like the tent fly outside the window here. So all this stuff up here is not seam taped. It does not need to be because it is covered directly by the tarp. Start coming down here to the window. It's kind of hard to show. This is seam taped. So basically from the windows down is seam taped all the way down. And again, all this stuff is covered by the tarp. So you don't need to worry about any of that. Nothing in the upper body of the tent is seam taped. Just from the top corner of the windows down is seam taped, right? And so that's all these seams are taped all the way down, with the exception of this right here. Now up here it doesn't matter because it's under the tarp, but you start getting down here and this seam runs all the way down to the very bottom of the tent and it is not taped. That's concerning to me. As you can see, this is a flat seam. Now realistically, if I really wanted to, I could press this down. I could put my own seam tape on here. You can see light coming through those stitches. I could pull up this fabric. You can obviously tell these are not taped. Doesn't matter up here. Down here it could. Let me step out and show you something here. So this right here is that same seam I was just showing you, right? So if we back up here, you can see that the tarp technically covers it if the rain is falling straight down. But if you have any kind of driving rain coming in sideways, the tarp will not cover it. I mean, basically from here all the way down will be directly exposed to rain. There is no seam tape or sealing on the outside either. Now it is a pretty steep wall. Let me try and put this in perspective here. It is a steep wall. Now the rain very well could just be blown in here and then run down. I don't know if it would, but that's a little concerning to me. I don't know why they didn't do that. I could do that myself if I feel like I need to, then I will. But that's something I wanted to point out. Now coming back in here in the tent, it does have a nice sturdy fill-in floor. It has some sort of hook and loop closure. You can completely remove this floor. It is 100% held in by these and a couple toggles in the corner. And you can see the dirt right there. You can completely remove that if you want to clean it out, or maybe it's really muddy and you don't want to pack it with the rest of the tent or whatever. You can easily rip that out, and they have tabs that can kind of give you an idea of where to line it up to make it fit the rest of the tent. Something that I needed to talk on quality about as well. With this, when I got my tent, I set it up, and I had a ton of bugs in here because this just wasn't sealed right. Like, all they had to do was press it together, but there's like gaps like that all around the tent. Therefore, my tent was flooded with bugs. So that just make sure that when you get this, make sure that it's just pressed really well all the way around, especially in the corners where it kind of tries to bunch up. Just make sure that you press it down nice. So right here is the bottom of the tent. Here is probably like a 6 to 8 inch bathtub right here. My hand's fully expanded and I cannot reach up that high. So it does have a really nice bathtub floor. You don't have to worry about water getting in the way that these the Velcro closures designed. I don't really see any way that water would get in through that. The corners that are on the ground, they are seam taped, so that is good. Again, seam taping all up through all this, not a problem. The reinforcements right here for the hub design, you can see it has seam tape on it. That's good. Here's another one of them pinholes I was talking about. Let's see if I can get it to show up. Nope, not really. But there's a pinhole right here, just from these pockets, right? So, anyways, guys, I found there's loads of pockets in here, right? We got a pocket right here on each side, so 4 of those. And for reference, here's my hand. These are big pockets. We have 2 of these. There's one here, one here. They're exactly the same. You get side entry, and then it cuts off right here, so you can kind of have like a little pocket here. It does go all the way through. These are where I put the tent bag and the stake bag, all that stuff. I just slide it in there. It keeps it out of the way. It comes with a little gear hammock up here. You can easily take off with toggles. May as well just keep it up, whatever. We do have another door. It is exactly the same as this door. There's obviously bug netting, and then there's the actual door itself. Now the bug netting appears to me to be too big to be no-seam netting. I don't think it'll be an issue by far most of the time. But just know I do not believe that this would keep out 100% of the no-seams, but it would keep out about everything else without any problem. Here are the hub designs, so you don't have to worry about setting up the tent actually itself. I'm not going to show you setting up the tent, because that is about the easiest task you can do. So if I'm standing up right in the middle of the tent, my head just reaches right here. Fully standing up, I'm about 5'9". So just kind of for reference, let me step back and try and give you a little bit of perspective here. So right here we have a cheap Ozark Trail cot. My wife and I are just playing around with the idea. It is 75 inches long. As you can see, it comes from one end straight to the other end. It's about 8 inches, 8.5 inches tall. And so from the top of the cot here, you still have all that room up above you. This just kind of gives you a place to sit down and whatever, take off your shoes or whatever. We do have about 16, 18 inches or so right here on either side. That way, whoever's on that side will have the same room as someone on this side, because we have 2 cots set up side by side. As you can see here, there's the other cot, and we just set them side by side, and they're perfect for these pads. Let me see if I can unfold this and show you. So here we have the Nemo Roamer pads. These are a 4-inch thick pad, and they are 25 inches wide by 74 or 75 or 76 inches long. And again, you can just see how perfect these fit from one side to the other in this tent. So I mean, I can come here, sit down, take off my shoes or whatever. I got plenty of room to work with right here. Same thing on this side, so that's not a problem. So anyways, guys, you won't be able to fit a pad or cot in here that's any longer than 75 inches without rubbing the tent body. So this is about as big as you could get. So we're talking, we got 50 inches of width of pads side by side in the middle of the tent. And that is a good amount of space by like 76 inches long. So this is a 3-person tent. You definitely could get 3 people in here if you really needed to. I would not unless I needed to, but it is really comfortable for 2 people. I'll give you guys an update at some point down the road once I get through some more rain. Again, this next week's supposed to be a lot of rain, so thankfully we got a good test coming up. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to point out a few things, concerns, quality issues, stuff like that. Just I don't want you guys buying this thinking you're going to be good through the craziest of storms or anything like that, you know. Just, I mean, if you got a bunch of wind coming up underneath that, this thing's going to break. You know, I'm just being real, unless it's reinforced better, but I just kind of want to see how much it can take before it breaks. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys.